Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The first, I would like to say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving me a chance to present my draft thesis, and then to my supervisor, Prof. Nurdin Noni M. Hum, and Sir Amirullah, SPD MAD PhD, and my examiner, Sir Munir SPD MAD TESOL, and Sir Hairil Anwar Karompot, MA PhD. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andi Astri Awwaliyah. I am from English Education B2080, and the title of my draft thesis is Student Perception of Teacher Talk in English Teaching Learning Process, a survey research of 5th semester at English Education Study Program during COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, I will start my percentage from chapter 1. Chapter 1 consists of background, research question, objective of the research, and significance of the research. The first from background. The emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic has caused numerous changes in many aspects of society, including the education sector. The present situation adjustment influenced the outcome of a teacher-student relationship. Teachers play an essential role in engaging students in the English Foreign Language or EFL classroom since they have substantial class time to give direction, explain text, and assess student knowledge of the target language, states by Zhou in 2020. According to Weston in 2019, a language classroom has its own set primary rules that give the teacher some power over who talks, what topic they speak about, and how long they speak. Wooten in 2020 site discovered a scenario where a teacher are overly controlling and dominate during the classroom interaction of English subject. Teachers may encounter serious problems when it comes to online class learning. The dice they use of their speak affect the success of a classroom engagement. How students view their teacher's speech does contribute to the teacher development in creating and reflecting on their teacher and learning research. The researcher has found some previous related research about student perception of teacher talk in English teaching learning process. The first from Asia in 2016. The title is an analysis of a teacher talk in EFL classroom. And then the second is a Putri and Pulungan in 2014. The title is an analysis of a classroom interaction by using Blender's Interaction Analysis Category System or FIACS technique at SMPN 13 Kota Bengkulu in 2013 until 2014 academic year. And then the last from Huria and Agustiani in 2018. The title is an analysis of an English teacher and learner talk in the classroom interaction. Okay? And then the next is a research question. My research question is, what are the student perception of a teacher talk in the English teaching learning process? And then my objective of the research is to find out the student perception of teacher talk in English teaching learning process. And then D is the significance of the research. The first is theoretically. The result of the study might enrich reference in the area by providing more empirical evidence. And then from practically, the first from teacher, the result of this study could be used as a reference or reflection for the teacher about their performance in the teaching and learning process. And then for student, the result of this research can motivate the student to use English in the English classroom. And then I move to chapter 2, review of literature. Chapter 2 contains of theoretical literature and a conceptual framework. The first from theoretical literature. There are several major issues underlined in this research. There are classroom interaction, teacher talk, Flinders Interaction Analysis Category System, or FIACS, and then teacher talk in FIACS, student perception, English teaching learning process, and then COVID-19 pandemic. The first, I start from classroom interaction. In the classroom interaction, I will explain three parts. The first is definition. According to Rahayuddin Tias et al. In 2020, classroom interaction refers to the interaction in the classroom between the teacher and the student among the student. And then, the part of classroom interaction. There are group work, class-ended teacher questioning, individual work, scholar responses, student initiates, teacher answer, full class interaction, teacher talk, self-access, and open-ended teacher questioning. And then the last is a type. There are learner-content interaction, learner-teacher interaction, and learner-learner interaction. And then the second from review of literature is a teacher talk. According to Cullen in 1988, teacher talk is the special language the teacher uses when addressing every learner in the classroom. Teacher talk includes presenting knowledge, explaining, asking questions, giving comments, directing class activities, and facilitating everyday duties. In a teacher talk, I add about likely consequence of unclear teacher talk, and then guidelines for effective teacher talk. Okay, the third is a Flinders Interaction Analysis Category System. FIACS keep track of what the teacher and the student say during the teaching and learning process. Aside from that, the approach allows the teacher to see exactly what sort of speaking engagement they use, what they can of fraction the student produce. The interaction analysis categories proposed by Flinders in 1968 contains teacher talk and student talk and are referred to as Flinders Interaction Analysis Category System. And then the fourth is Flinders is teacher talk in FIACS. According to Flinders in 1968, the Flinders Interaction Analysis Category System, or FIACS, categorized teacher talk into 7 types, which were divided into 2 categories: direct influence and indirect influence. Lecturing, giving direction, and criticizing or justifying authority are all in the direct influence. While in indirect influence, there are accepting feeling, praising and encouraging, accepting or using student ideas, and asking questions. And then, student perception. Perception is someone talk about what they learn to assess their attitude toward analyzing something, whether they agree or disagree with the technique or anything they know. And then, English teaching learning process. A classroom is a gathering space for student and a student for educational purpose. And then, there's a COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic is a highly infectious disease or illness caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2 originated in Wuhan city of China, has already taken on a pandemic proportion, affecting across all the continents by Mukhtar et al. In 2020. Okay, and then conceptual framework. In the ELT class, the learning process occurs, so there will be interaction between the teacher and the student. All kinds of instruction given by the teacher are included in the teacher talk. And about this teacher talk, which will be asked the student about their perception and then will be analyzed with Flinders Interaction Analysis Category System. There are 7 categories. Okay, last I move to chapter 3, research method. Chapter 3 consists of types of research type and place, research design, population and sample, the operational definition of term, data collection technique, research instrument, data analysis technique. Okay. The first, I will start from types of research. The descriptive method used in this research with the quantitative method. And then the research time and place. Time. The researcher conducted this research in the academic year 2021 and 2022 of 5 semester of English education study program. And place. Researcher took in the English Department of Language and Literature Faculty of State University of Makassar, Jalan Malengkeri, South Sulawesi. And the research design, this research used a survey approach. A survey is a technique of collecting data from individuals about what they are, how they think, and what they do. And then, population. The study participants are students of 5th register at the 5th semester of the academic year 2021 and 2022 at English Department of Language and Literature Faculty of State University of Makassar. The English Education Study Program consists of 5th class A, B, C, D, and Pare-Pare. In the class A consists of 35 students, class B 36 students, class C 48 students, class D 36 students, and class E 17 students. So the total number of students in the English Department Study Program are 172 students. And then sample. The researcher used voluntary sampling as a technique sampling. The researcher took all the population as the sample from class A, B, C, D, and Pare-Pare. And then operational definition of variable. According to Jung and Cote, an operational definition of variable is a changing concept that firms construct by words that describe the behavior and indications which can be observed and can be tested by truth by others. There are student perception, teacher talk, English teacher learning process, and COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. The next is a research procedure. The research procedure first from the researcher shared the questionnaire to the participant. And then the researcher did the observation via WhatsApp group while filling the questionnaire by the participant. And then the researcher analyzed the questionnaire, and then the researcher reported the result of the data analysis to induce the research finding. And then that data collection technique. The first is the writer create a combination of structured questionnaire with items related to the study topic, and then the survey are being sent to students enrolled in the English Education Study Program. And then when completing the questionnaire, students should select an answer. And then the writer collect the questionnaire response and continue to evaluate the questionnaire. And then the data will be conducted in November 2021. And then the research instrument. My research instrument is a questionnaire. The subject will be asked a series of questions and it will be respond with some responses. The survey included 20 statements that represented the teacher talk categorized is Frienders Interaction Analysis Category System. And then the data analysis technique. The researcher will use a statistical analysis program or SPSS to process the data. After all the data were collected, the researcher analyzed the data using descriptive statistics. Okay, next I move to findings and discussion. In the finding, there are 3 parts. The first is a data of student perception in its statement. The first, I start from indirect influence. In the indirect influence, there are 4 categories. The first is accepting feeling. In the statement 1, the data of frequency and percent of statement 1. The first statement is the teacher makes sure the condition of the student begins. The result of the questionnaire is 42.5% with 60 frequency. Meanwhile, 6.5% with a 10 frequency decided to give disagree ideas to this opinion. And then statement 2, the teacher helped the student in remembering the previous material before the lesson begins. This concept got 52.9% with 81 frequency, and then 7% percentage with 1 frequency of a student who gave a disagree opinion. And then praising and encouraging categorize, or statement 3. The teacher was praised and encouraged students often by repeating student answer and giving words of praise, for example, well done, good job, nice, and so on. According to the result of the questionnaire, show 52.3% with active frequency just agree, and then 7% with 1 frequency of students who strongly disagree with this statement. And then statement 4, the teacher was praising and encouraging students for their confidence in class. There are 7% with 1 frequency strongly disagree from student, and then the opinion agree. There are 47.1% with 72 frequency of student. And then statement 5, the teacher sometimes accepted student ideas or even used their ideas on their answer. From the result of the questionnaire, there are 50.3% of students who agree with 77 frequency. Meanwhile, as a 2% with 3 frequency of students strongly disagree. And then the next category is accepting or using student ideas. Statement 6, when students pass on some suggestion, then the teacher may repeat it in not style in their own style or word. Almost half of the students agree with 52.3% with active frequency, and 7% of students with 1 frequency choose disagree opinion. And then in the statement 7, when the teacher can say, I understand what you mean, then the teacher clarify, builds or develop ideas or suggestion given by a student. The result of questionnaire show 47.1% with a 72 frequency agree with this statement, while 7% with 1 frequency give an opinion strongly disagree. And then in the statement I, when the teacher accepts student ideas and then refines, confirm, and use them, a total of this statement is 45.8% with a 70 frequency choose agree, while 7% with 1 frequency give opinion strongly disagree. And then the next categorized from indirect influence in asking question. In the statement 9, the teacher often asks questions when they want to begin the lesson, introducing new material, start a new topic, and stimulate knowledge about the lesson. There are 37.9% with a 50i frequency choose agree, and then 2.6 of students give a disagree opinion with the 4 frequency. And then statement 10, the teacher asks about the student compliance during the learning process. Students are mostly neutral with this idea. The following of the number of students is 41.2% with a 60 frequency. Meanwhile, 7% with 1 frequency gave strongly disagree to this opinion. And then statement 11, the teacher asks about the things the student like during the learning process. The result of the questionnaire show 45.1% with a 69 frequency, then 2.6% with a 4 frequency give strongly disagree to this opinion. And then the next from direct influence, there are lecturing. In the 12th statement in the questionnaire, the teacher used their explanation before going down to the material. The highest percentage is at the agree level as much as 46.4% with a 71 frequency, a total of a 2.3 disagree with the statement with a 2 frequency. And then statement 13, the teacher used their explanation for material that students don't understand. That show 44.4% of students who agree with a 68 frequency, and then 4.9 disagree with a 9 frequency. And then in the 14th statement, the teacher used the explanation for the technique in doing the task. From the result, there are 45.8% agree with 70 frequency, and then the other student gave their opinion disagree 2.6% with the 4 frequency. And then giving direction in the statement 15, the teacher gave direction to make a project, work in a group, come to the front of the class and exercise individually, show that 41.2% with a 63 frequency strongly agree, and then 2.6% with the 4 frequency of students disagree with this statement. And then statement 16, the teacher gives direction to be orderly in a class. The percentage show that 44.4% of students give an agree with a 68 frequency, and then 2.6% with the 4 frequency of students gave disagree with this opinion. And then statement 17, the teacher gives direction to start and close the class. In the statement, there are 43.1% of students who think they agree with the 66 frequency, while 4.6% they think disagree with the 7 frequency. And then criticizing or justifying authority. In the statement 18, when the teacher asks the student not interrupt with the false question, there is a neutral opinion with a percentage 35.9% with the 55 frequency given by student, and then opinion strongly disagree as much as 11.1% with a 70 frequency. And then statement 19, when the teacher changed student behavior from unexpected to acceptable pattern. From this statement, the student gave a neutral answer of a 45.8% with a 70 frequency, but 7% with 1 frequency gave a strongly disagree to this statement. And then the last statement is bowling someone out with the percentage 32.7% neutral with a 50 frequency, and then 2.6% strongly agree with 4 frequency from the student. Okay, the next I move to the next part of the findings is the data of student perception in each category. Okay, the first from indirect influence is accepting feelings get a positive classification with 79.54 weight average, and then praising and encouraging get the highest weight average with 81.22 with a positive classification, and then Accepting or using student ideas get a positive classification with a 77.52 weight average. And then last is asking question get a positive classification with 74.12 weight average. Then in direct influence, lecturing get a positive classification also with 77.86 weight average. And then giving direction get a positive classification with 80.74 weight average. And then the last is criticizing or justifying authority get a positive classification with a 60.31 weight average as a lowest than all the category. And then the last from findings is a total data of a student perception. The total data of a student perception is 75.72 weight average that show the positive classification. And then the next part of the chapter 4 is a discussion. The findings show that the student perception of teacher talk in English teaching learning process was a positive with 75.72 weight average. Among the types of the teacher talk, the category that has the highest score in perception is praise and encouraging with an average of 81.22 with a positive classification. From the finding, it was found that there were 80 frequency in the first statement of this categories, 72 frequency in the second statement, and 77 frequency in the third statement of these categories. And then accepting feeling, getting an average 79.54 with a positive classification. From the findings, there are 81 frequency in the first statement, 65 frequency in the second statement, with the agree opinion of both statements. And then accepting or using student ideas is a categorized from indirect influence, get 77.52 average with a positive classification. From the findings, there were 80 frequency in the first statement, 70 frequency in the second statement, and 70 frequency in the last statement. And then the last is asking question, getting the average weight of 74.12 with a positive classification. From the finding, there were 58 frequency in the first statement, and then student give neutral opinion with a frequency of 78 and 79. And then in the direct influence, there are lecturing, get a 77.86 weight average with a positive classification. From the finding, that were 71 frequency in the first statement, 68 frequency in the second statement, and 70 frequency in the last statement. And then giving direction, get 80.78 weight average with a positive classification. This category is in the second place after praise and encouraging. From the findings is found 63 frequency strongly agree on the first statement, and then 68 frequency and 77 gave an agree opinion. And then the last is criticizing or justifying authority. In the last place they get a 60.31. From the finding, it was found 55 and 70 frequency neutral, and then 50 neutral with the 4 frequency. Okay, and then I move to last chapter, is a chapter 5 closure. There are consists of conclusion and suggestion. My conclusion, there are two. The first is student perception of teacher talk in English teaching learning process is in positive classification. This can be seen from the 7 categories of the teacher talk are all in the positive classification, but with different average numbers. It means that the students were enthusiastic with the teacher talk in English teaching learning process. And the two, according to the research data of analysis of the teacher talk, the categories of VIICS that dominate use by the teacher among the 7 categories is surprise and encouraging. And then the categories of FIICS that not dominated is criticizing or justifying authority. Okay, and then I move to the last part is suggestion. Teacher talk play an important role in provoking interaction between teacher and student. The teacher should understand what the student perception about her or his teaching. English teacher is expected to understand what the language will be more efficient in creating an environment in which students feel more confident and comfortable, become more involved in interactive activities in a language classroom. Therefore, English teacher can make self-reflecting about their teaching, such as record their teaching, make observation, apply survey or questionnaire. That's all for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.